Today live in cities, and too often our cities are polluted, congested, and socially isolated. We are terrified to cross the street, children cannot play outdoors, and simply breathing the air is killing us. And we tell ourselves, hey, it's just the price of a modern life. But what if, instead of accepting the unacceptable, we allowed ourselves to dream? When we dream, we open ourselves up to the possibility of something much better. If we can see it and start to believe it, then we can work to achieve it. So I'd like to take you for a stroll with me through a very different city. You'll notice on the ground floor of the apartment buildings, there are shops, offices, restaurants, cafes. These pay a higher rent and thus subsidize the housing above. They also bring destinations closer to residents. Scattered throughout the city, there are canals, ponds, parks, and trees, lots of trees. All of these make the city cooler, they prevent flooding, and they invite nature back into the city. And there is space for all of this green and blue because there are no cars. So without cars, how do people move around? Neighborhoods contain most of what people need on a daily basis. People don't have to travel far. So you can see lots of people, including school children, are out walking, on bicycles. Others, including those with limited mobility, are in specially designed, accessible cycle rickshaws or pedicabs. Those who do need to travel farther can take the tram, which goes down the middle of major roads. Parking lots are now playgrounds and community gardens. What was street-side parking is now hawker stalls and parklets, mini parks with bicycle parking, benches, and the occasional water fountain. Now I'd like to ask you to take a deep breath. It's okay, the air is clean. What do you smell? Ripe guavas being sold from a bicycle cart, and food from one of the many sidewalk cafes. You can feel the fresh, cool air on your skin. And what do you hear? Bells from the rickshaws and the tram, birdsong, but something else, something we don't hear nearly often enough in cities. Laughter. Kids are playing, teens chatting, and adults socializing outdoors. Now, I'm sure many of you are thinking, lovely dream, completely impractical in the modern world. I would argue that it is our existing cities with all of their problems that are impractical, and that it's foolish to give up so easily on what could be so much better. In any case, I've been to many cities that contain at least some of what I am describing today. So if car-free cities are practical and would be wildly popular, why don't we already have a bunch of them? And the simple answer is the three-headed monster. The car, fuel, and road-building corporations that influence us through their advertising and have way too much power over our governments and thus over how we design and operate our cities. The monster is voracious, demanding huge and ever-increasing sacrifices of, among other things, our money and our lives. I am from the United States, where the government spends way more money on roads and highways than on light and heavy rail, trams and trains. As a result, most people need a car to move around, so they're forced to buy one whether or not they can afford it. As a result, Total consumer debt to buy cars in the United States has now reached $1.43 trillion. Not million, not billion, but $1 trillion. One country. Worldwide, every year, 1.3 million people die on our roads. That averages out to 3,500 people killed every single day. Another 9 million people die each year due to air pollution. 1 in 6 deaths worldwide is caused by breathing filthy air. We spend time earning money to buy our cars, and then we waste time stuck in traffic caused by our cars. We cannot provide affordable housing to people because we're too busy providing it to cars. We rob children of their childhood. They are unable to walk or cycle safely to school, and they cannot play outdoors. And let's not forget, as our leaders too often seem to, the climate crisis. The United States is one of the biggest global emitters, and the single biggest source of greenhouse gas emissions in the United States is transport, all those roads and highways. Number 2, this will come up in a moment, is electricity production. Now you might think that given all the harm fossil fuels are doing, we would want to rein them in. Instead, we continue to subsidize them. By how much? According to the International Monetary Fund, not some liberal think tank, mind you, but the IMF, global subsidies to fossil fuels now reach $5.9 trillion in 1 year. So when we do worry about the climate crisis, and I hope you do, what are we told? Buy a new car, buy an electric car, as if a problem caused by overconsumption can be solved simply by consuming more. Passenger cars weigh at least 1 ton. Obviously, they're not operating with AA batteries. The battery required is massive. It needs a lot of mineral resources that have to be mined. Building the car and the battery requires a lot of fuel. The batteries are complicated and dangerous to recycle. And the power, the electricity that powers the car in the world today still mostly comes from fossil fuels. So when we look at the vehicle in its entirety, not just to what does or does not come out of the tailpipe, it is clear that there is no such thing as a zero emissions vehicle, although the bicycle and the cycle rickshaw or pedicab do come very close. Fortunately, people are fed up with decades of cars dominating our cities. Change is happening. I want to give you just a quick glimpse. Lots of cities organize car-free events. The Ciclovia in Bogota, Colombia, happens every Sunday and holiday, where for several hours they take 75 miles, 120 kilometers of roads away from cars and give them to people for cycling, skating, and fun. Basically, a big old street party that attracts, on average, 1.5 million people each time and creates lots of economic opportunities. Bogota, over 2 decades ago, ignored advice to build a series of urban highways. They saved a heap of money by instead building an extensive bus rapid transit network. Some of the savings, they built hundreds of kilometers of bicycle infrastructure and 1,000 parks and playgrounds in the city. In San Francisco, when the Embarcadero elevated expressway was damaged in an earthquake, the government was going to repair it, but gave in to demands to tear it down instead, thereby liberating some great public spaces in what had been the underbelly of an ugly and polluting highway. In Seoul, Korea, people were literally sick of the pollution caused by an elevated expressway. They tore it down. There was a river that had been trapped underneath that was freed up, and that too became an enormously popular public space. Cities across Europe make it pleasant to walk, cycle, and take the tram, and many ban motorized vehicles from at least part of their downtown. Berlin is considering making the entire core city, a space bigger than Manhattan, essentially car-free. And in Barcelona, they are introducing super blocks where they push cars out of neighborhoods, they plant trees, and they convert intersections into plazas, making areas quieter, cooler, and less polluted, so that residents' lives are longer and better. And these changes happened because people dared to dream of something better, and then they demanded it, whether it was cleaner air, better places to cycle and socialize outdoors, or an end to children dead on our roads. Now, I'm sure some of you are thinking, but I love my car, or when I'm old enough or can afford a car, I plan to love it. And I hear you. It makes sense in today's cities to want a car, given that they are the most convenient and comfortable way to get stuck in traffic. Oh, sorry. I mean to move around. Certainly here in Dhaka, if you are in a car, you're probably moving slower than the bicycles, but you are treated like a VIP. Whereas if you are not in a car, too often you are treated like a cockroach. The question is, do you dare dream of something better for yourself and for your city? And if you do, I have a few suggestions. You can learn about the measures that have been proven effective at reducing cars in cities. Things like parking fees, congestion charges, and car-free areas. You can learn about traffic evaporation, travel demand management, and transit-oriented development. About the 15-minute city, which prioritizes access, not mobility, and about the Car-Free Cities Alliance. While you're online, just look up car-free cities and allow yourself to be inspired by the stories and images. Discover what groups there are in your city that are working to make things better for those out walking, to create better bicycle infrastructure, to improve public transit, to stop highway expansion, to depave parts of the city, and to create more and better parks and playgrounds rather than ever more car parking. And make some noise. You can talk to your friends, post online, write letters to newspapers, to planners, to policymakers, go to meetings, organize your own meetings, get together with friends and neighbors and organize your own car-free events. And don't worry, you do not need a master's degree in urban planning or transport policy in order to have a positive impact on your city. We do need experts for some of this work, but most of the issues are actually not that complicated. Cars, including electric cars, pollute. They require a ton of space and money, and they kill. Bicycles don't. For heavier vehicles and longer trips, steel wheels on steel tracks are much more efficient than rubber tires on asphalt. When we invite cars into our city, we have to make space for them. We widen our roads, we provide car parking, our cities sprawl, destinations grow farther apart, and more people use the car. But the opposite is also true. When we push cars out of our cities, we can make them more compact, reducing the need to travel so that people no longer need the car. And with the space and money we save, we can then restore our water bodies, create great parks, and have a high-quality system of light and heavy rail, trams and trains for longer travel. It is possible to design and retrofit our cities to minimize the need for travel, and then to create great neighborhoods like the Barcelona superblocks. We can have cities that are healthier for people and planet. Or we can continue to sacrifice our time, our money, our lives, our children, and our future to the three-headed monster. The choice is ours. Thank you.